foundation for studying the mental and emotional aspects of human behavior. It's safe to say that virtually everything you think or say or do is simply a means, the end of which is the achievement of your own happiness. The question of happiness, how to achieve more of it, and how to avoid unhappiness has been studied exhaustively for hundreds of years. In this session, we'll talk about some of the laws that have been discovered in the universal search for happiness. You can then use these laws and principles to dramatically increase the level of happiness that you enjoy in virtually everything you do. As I mentioned earlier, the starting point of your achieving happiness is for you to decide exactly how you define the word happiness. As Stephen Covey writes, you must start with the end in mind. Begin with a goal and work back. You need to engage in the hard, disciplined thinking of deciding for yourself exactly what combination of ingredients causes you to feel the happiest about yourself most of the time. Remember, you are both unique and extraordinary. There's never been and never will be anyone exactly like you. You have a remarkable combination of tastes and values and beliefs and needs and desires that make your particular definition of happiness different from that of anyone else who has ever lived. And only you can decide for yourself what makes you happy. No one can ever dictate happiness to another person. It's a purely subjective or personal decision. When I think of how different happiness is to each person, I think of a large smorgasbord. Have you ever been to a long buffet line with 20 or 30 or even 40 different dishes of all kinds? If you ever want to see a living example of the differences between human beings, just stand for a short while at the exit end of a buffet line and look at the different combinations of foods that the individuals have put on their plates. You'll never see two exactly the same. The sizes, colors, proportions, and mixtures will be different for each person. This simple exercise is proof that neither you nor anyone else can ever decide what will make another person happy. For each person, this choice is his or her primary responsibility in life, and it's both mandatory and unavoidable. A useful and enjoyable exercise for you is to write down on a piece of paper the following line: I would be perfectly happy if. Then complete the sentence with as many different answers as you can think of. You might say, I would be perfectly happy if I had all the money I needed, if I enjoyed perfect health, if I had the love, respect, and esteem of all the people who are important to me, if I were living in the perfect climate, or if I was doing the perfect job, and so on. The more detailed your answers are, and the more you break your answers down into clear definitions of exactly what those answers mean, the easier it will be for you to organize your life in such a way that you enjoy far more happiness than the average person. The silliest thing about the concept of happiness is that, although everybody wants more of it, very few people have ever taken any time at all to decide for themselves what it really means to them. This is probably why most people are dissatisfied with much of their lives. Fortunately, you can free yourself from this tendency by clarifying for yourself exactly how each part of your life would be if you were a perfectly happy person already. In psychology, and as you will see in economics, the basic principle of human behavior is that all human action is motivated by a dissatisfaction of some kind. If a person was perfectly satisfied, he would have no urge or desire to do or change anything. So the starting point of achieving greater happiness for you can be an evaluation of some of the needs that you might experience which lead to dissatisfaction. Perhaps the most important work in this area was done by the psychologist Abraham Maslow when he postulated his hierarchy of needs. What he said was that each person has a series of needs from the lowest to the highest, and that each person acts continuously to satisfy these needs. Maslow explained that until a lower order need was satisfied, the individual couldn't think or turn his mind to a higher order need. He also demonstrated that once a need has been satisfied, it's no longer a motivator. Once you get something you want and you have enough of it, you're no longer motivated or driven to get it. Your motivation then changes toward getting something that you still feel a need for. Let me explain. Maslow's hierarchy originally had 5 needs or levels. In his later research, he suggested that there were two even higher needs. The lowest need, and the first need that must be satisfied, is the need for survival. Until a person's survival needs are satisfied, until he or she is no longer concerned for the basics of life, food, clothing, shelter, that person is not concerned about higher needs. Maslow also demonstrated that a person who, through accident or circumstance, was deprived of a lower need, like food, he would stop trying to fulfill any higher need until the lower need was satisfied once more. The second need up on Maslow's hierarchy is the need for security of all kinds, physical, emotional, financial, and so on. This is the foundation of the life insurance industry. Once a person is assured of survival, he or she becomes concerned with security. Once the need for security has been met, the individual then turns to the third level of need, which is the need for love and belonging, the need to be accepted by other human beings. People need to interact and associate with other people, to feel themselves to be part of a social group, to be known and cared for by others. This is why solitary confinement is the worst punishment that can be given to the worst criminal in the worst maximum security institution. Being deprived of the company of others is very painful emotionally. The fourth level of need discussed by Maslow is the need for self-esteem. This is the need to like yourself and respect yourself and feel that you're respected and appreciated by others. The fifth level of need on Maslow's hierarchy is the need for self-actualization. This is defined as the feeling that you are becoming everything you're capable of becoming. Maslow felt that the most advanced and fully mature members of our society were those who were functioning at the higher levels of need satisfaction. Self-actualization can be seen when people engage in activities that challenge their abilities and stretch them toward the greater realizations of their full potential. The two higher needs that Maslow added later were the need for beauty and the need for truth, in that order. Once a person has satisfied his or her needs for survival, security, belonging, self-esteem, and self-actualization, he or she would naturally turn to beauty, as in music or art, and truth, as in philosophy or religion. However, if a person who is functioning at the higher levels of the hierarchy of needs suddenly fell off a moving boat in the middle of the night and was threatened with drowning, he or she would immediately forget about the satisfaction of all higher needs and would revert instantly to a total concern with survival, the most basic of human needs. As you mature and grow and become a more fully functioning human being, you find that you're motivated at a higher and higher level of need. The kinds of dissatisfactions that you experience, which deprive you of the happiness that you desire, are triggered by dissatisfaction at higher and higher levels. One of the wonderful things about Western society is that, because of our relative level of affluence, more and more people have been freed from a preoccupation with satisfying lower-level needs and given the opportunity to devote more of their time and thoughts to the satisfaction of higher-level needs. The lower-level needs, those of survival and security and belonging, are all what might be called deficiency needs. The fulfilling of these needs doesn't necessarily make you happy, but being deprived of these needs can make you very unhappy indeed. The higher-level needs, the needs for self-esteem, for self-actualization, for beauty and truth, are all what are called being needs. These are needs the fulfillment of which can make you happier and can lead you to the feelings of elation, joy, and peak experiences where you feel absolutely wonderful about yourself and life in every respect. This, of course, is one of the highest states of happiness. In achieving your own happiness, another helpful way of defining what happiness means to you is something that I teach in my seminars. I say that everything that you could possibly want in life could be listed under one of 7 categories. You always have a tendency to measure how well you're doing in life and how happy you are by how much of each of these 7 ingredients you have or have not managed to achieve. The first overall ingredient of happiness is peace of mind. You are happy to the degree to which you can achieve your own peace of mind. The interesting thing about inner peace is that it's the normal, natural state of man, and that it is deviations from inner peace and happiness that are unnatural and abnormal. It's important to point this out because many people think that the experience of inner joy is unusual and accidental. Others, very few, realize that this inner experience is the norm, and they strive to organize their lives so that they have it more often. The second ingredient of happiness is health and energy. Your health, which is largely reflected in your levels of energy, is the absolute minimum requirement for the assurance of your survival and well-being. You know that if you gain everything else but you lose your health, you're failing in the most important area. But if you achieve and maintain high levels of health and energy, no matter what else happens to you on the outside, you're still doing pretty well as a human being. The third ingredient of happiness is loving relationships. You are happy and successful to the degree that other people love and respect you, and you love and respect other people. Most of your happiness in life will come from your interactions with those people that you care about and who care about you. So developing and preserving loving relationships with other people is a measure of everything you are as a human being. The fourth ingredient of happiness is financial freedom. Most people want a lot of money primarily because they feel that with a lot of money, they'll be free to live their lives the way they want. And they feel that this will make them happy. Most material objects and accomplishments are seen as a means to achieve this end. The big mistake that many people make is that they confuse means and ends, and they become totally obsessed with getting and spending, and they lose sight of the reasons for wanting money in the first place. Financial freedom can be defined simply as having enough money so that you don't worry about it or think about it, so that you can then turn your mind and emotions to other, more important subjects. Money is a little bit like a deficiency need in that if you have enough of it, you seldom think about it. But if you have too little for any period of time, you think of almost nothing else. The fifth ingredient of happiness is worthy goals and ideals. In reality, happiness is a condition that you experience when you're fully engaged in doing something that is important and meaningful to you. This is why Viktor Frankl wrote that a need for meaning and purpose is the deepest craving in human nature. It's only when you feel that your life stands for something bigger than yourself and that what you're doing is making a difference in the world that you're truly happy. The sixth ingredient of happiness is self-knowledge and self-understanding. The ancient Greeks had a saying engraved in stone above the temple of Apollo at Delphi which said, "Man, know thyself." This advice is more than 2,000 years old, and it's equally true today. You can only be happy when you fully understand why it is you feel the way you feel and do the things you do. Self-knowledge and self-understanding seem to go hand in hand with inner peace, tranquility, and happiness. The seventh overall ingredient of happiness is a sense of self-fulfillment. It's the feeling you have when you're living your life completely and leaving nothing out. Henry David Thoreau, when he withdrew to Walden Pond for 2 years to think about life, wrote that his primary motivation was to live deliberately and not to come to the end of my years without ever having really lived. Self-fulfillment is another word for self-actualization. This is the need being satisfied by those men and women who have the healthiest personalities and who are the most fully integrated members of our society. Now you have to ask yourself, in which of these areas might you be suffering a deficiency? In which of these areas are you currently dissatisfied or unhappy for any reason? Here's a helpful exercise that you can give to yourself on a regular basis. Take a clean sheet of paper and, giving yourself only 30 seconds to reply, ask yourself this question. What are my 3 most important goals in life right now? Write down the answers quickly without thought or evaluation. Then, ask yourself the second question. What are my 3 biggest worries or problems in life right now? And write them down quickly as well. The answers to these questions will reveal 2 remarkable things. First, they'll indicate to you clearly what you need to do more of or have more of in order to be happy. And second, they'll show you what you need to eliminate in order to get rid of any unhappiness or dissatisfaction that currently exists in your life. Your subconscious mind is remarkable in this way. If you only give yourself 30 seconds to write down the answers to these questions, your subconscious will sort through all the millions of bits of data stored in your mental computer and pop the correct answers to the surface